Hey folks, welcome back. I don't really know how to play this thing. I thought that I'd bring it in to, set the tone of the video or whatever, but I've never really been that musically talented. I guess I can give it a shot. Ah! Nobody told me that the strings were made of metal!
Music. It's perhaps the most consistent aspect of human life. There's evidence to show that even in the earliest societies, several thousand years ago, humans were plucking strings at different places to make different sounds and writing it down. Music brings people together. If you've ever been to a concert, you'll know that a single common interest can foster a sense of camaraderie among people who you've never met before, and you'll probably never see each other again. Or at the very least, won't remember seeing them, because you've had so many of those 2-liter Budweisers. At the very least, music can serve as a great way of telling whether or not you want to hang out with someone. But music doesn't just exist to be enjoyed on its own. It's also one of the most important aspects of pretty much every piece of entertainment media. TV shows, movies, video games, all rely on music to make the experience as full and immersive as possible. Whether it's knowing what type of music to match what you're seeing or playing, or using a lack of music to set a contrast in tone, music is of imperative importance for entertainment.
Now, I'm no musician, and that's not to say that I don't have it in me to learn how to play an instrument or read music. I've just never really had the drive to do it. And I think that's okay. I'll stick to funnies. But of course, that means that I'm not super knowledgeable about stuff like music theory, so I'm not going to be able to explain to you mathematically why a song is good. And also, don't expect any fancy terms like treble clef or whatever. That said though, I do have a couple of ears that work pretty well if I do say so myself. And I like a lot of different kinds of music, so I think I have the ability to tell a jam from a not jam. I just thought it would be fun to examine a bunch of different music from different video games I like, and explain why I like it so much. Because if there's one thing I'm knowledgeable about, it's video games. Also, I would get fucking annihilated by copyright strike if I looked at music that wasn't from video games. Let's go!
Video game music. Where the hell do I even begin here? I'm not used to covering a topic that's this broad, I'm gonna be honest. Well, what's the obvious starting point for video games? That's right, Mario. Look, there's a lot of fucking Mario games, and they're all well known for having pretty good music at the very least, amazing music at best. That said though, I think if you asked people what's the best Mario soundtrack, a lot of them would deviate to the 3D games, and for good reason. Mario 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, Galaxy 2, and Odyssey all have amazing music. But one game in the series that I think is really underrated in terms of its music is Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. Obviously, lots of people love the soundtrack from this game, but in my opinion, this game was way ahead of its time in terms of music. The game basically uses one song for all of its levels, which is, trust me, it's a good thing. The song from the standard platforming levels is like... You hear that little sequence in every level, but it changes tempo and adjusts it to fit the theme of the level. In the more platforming heavy levels and the ones where the camera is moving toward you, the music is more hectic and fast-paced. The water levels are slow and give off that classic Mario water level vibe. The underground levels are more toned down and atmospheric. The castles are very epic and have a boss stage thing kind of going on. And the ghost houses are just straight up spooky. It's so cool how it's basically the same song every time, but it changes to make it distinct. Honestly, if you're not paying attention, you might not even notice the consistency going on. I certainly didn't as a kid.
To be fair though, I was a very stupid kid.
One thing that some games do with music that I love is changing the music progressively as you go through the game. Another example on the Super Nintendo is Yoshi's Island. Another of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo. And god damn it, one of my favorite games of all time. You play on Yoshi's Island and you're on the map screen and you're like... And then you get to the second map screen. Hey, that little beat in the background wasn't there before. And then you get to the third map screen. Hey, wait a minute. That's ever so slightly different than before. I'm sure you've caught on by now, but the game has 6 worlds, and every time you beat one of the bosses at the end of it, the music adds an extra instrument to it. You go from the first map screen where the music is like this, to the final world where the music is like this. It's such a cool way of showing how you've progressed. It's like the game is celebrating you for getting further in the game. Another example of this is the Comet Observatory. Can we please just take a moment to acknowledge how fucking beautiful Super Mario Galaxy is, just as a game? The main hub world is the Comet Observatory, this big space station run by Rosalina and her subservient race of adorable, chubby star guys. And the music for this area is just so fucking good. But here's the thing, this ship ain't working the way it used to. Half of it's dark and blocked off, so Mario has to collect power stars to power the ship to make it work again. But as you play the game and you unlock more of the observatory, the music does the same thing in Yoshi's Island. It goes from this to this to this. Oh my god, man, if this music doesn't make you feel something, just what the hell is wrong with you? I touched on this earlier, but a big thing about video game music for me is how it applies to the tone of the situation or the environment. Another Super Nintendo game that does a good job of this, in my opinion, is Super Metroid. I know I'm going a bit Nintendo heavy here, but I don't care. Nintendo has a lot of very good music. Like, piss off. Dislike the video if you're so upset. Oh, look at me, I don't like Nintendo because I'm not a kid anymore and I miss the bliss of youth and I don't want to pay taxes.
Ha! Take that, random hypothetical YouTube user. That'll teach you to criticize a multi-billion-dollar company on my YouTube channel.
Super Metroid, believe it or not, another of my favorite games. Big fan of the Super Nintendo over here. But it does have an amazing soundtrack, and the music is so diverse and fits all the different areas of the game. I feel like sometimes this game doesn't get enough praise for how creepy it really is at times. Like, listen to the music that plays when you first land on Criteria. It's so spooky and unsettling. It really drives home the fact that you're on a foreign planet and have no idea what you're in for. And so many of the different tracks have that same unsettling quality that adds to the atmosphere of single-handedly exploring an alien planet. But then when you get back up to the surface after you've been playing a while, this triumphant space explorer theme. It's like, now you know what you're doing. You're not so scared anymore because you're a space explorer. And then you've got Brinstar Overgrown, which is just one of the sickest songs in any video game. But I also enjoy video games that are not made by Nintendo. And when it comes to setting the tone through music, the top dog of genres is probably survival horror. While most games really have to focus on gameplay first and immersion second, survival horror is the total opposite. Horror games are able to get away with things that other games aren't. They often have explicit design choices that go against logical rules of game design, like hiding a monster off screen so that it scares you, or changing the layout of the area that you're in. But that's unrelated. I'm not talking about game design, I'm talking about music, and I'm talking about immersion here. Survival horror games are amazing for this. Take Resident Evil 2 for example. This game has really eerie and unsettling music, but what I think are the most interesting are the save room theme, and the main hall of the police station. It's so cool to me how these songs give off this dreading, scary vibe to them, while also having a calming effect, partially because you know when you hear it that you can take a breather from all the bullshit going on elsewhere with the zombies and the lickers and whatnot. And Resident Evil 1, 3, and 0 all do this too. I just really like Resident Evil 2, and the main hall of the police station, it just gives me chills. It's so good. And then you got Silent Hill, and of course we all know this. Akira Yamaoka could sneeze and it would be in my top 5 video game songs of all time. The soundtracks of Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 are just so on the money when it comes to fitting tone. During the calm sections where you're running around the quote-unquote normal Silent Hill, there's either no music or this atmospheric spooky music. It's calming and yet also has this dreading fear of the unknown vibe to it. Just like the safe rooms in Resident Evil, but like different in a way. And then when you're in the other world getting chased by monsters, it's just like bang, 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 and you're like, it's horrible, but it's good. And then on the other hand, you have video game soundtracks that completely go against your expectations in a good way. Take Marvel vs. Capcom 2. From an outside perspective, you probably think, oh, this is a game where Ryu fights Spider-Man. It's probably gonna have, like, whatever, generic rock music or something. Something that fits the tone of fighting. But nope, actually the entire soundtrack is full of sick, ass-kicking jazz. I guarantee if they made this game today, especially with Disney owned and Marvel and all that, they would fill it with stupid-ass, boring, generic Marvel Cinematic Universe garbage. And then there's the Castlevania series, a series that's generally supposed to be in the realm of horror. If you look at this with no expectations, you'd probably think it would have slow, spooky music. But instead... my favorite is the first level theme from Dracula X. They gave away the best song in the first level. God bless, they knew this game was gonna be fucking awesome. They didn't need to save the dope music for later on. It goes from, ooh, Dracula's scary, to fuck you, Dracula, I'm coming for you. It's gonna take a really long time though, because this game is really, really hard. And Silent Hill is actually a game that subverts expectations in a beautiful way. Akira Yamaoka always includes a really cool rock jam in his games. And I don't know why, but it somehow fits the atmosphere so well. And then you got Mega Man X, where every goddamn song is fucking awesome. Like, this is the menu music. This plays on the menu. And the tutorial level. They didn't need to go this hard for these levels, but they did. God bless Mega Man X.
And that's all well and good. I love music. Who doesn't love music? But I think my favorite technique in musical composition as a whole is adaptive music. And big shout out to this guy, Noodle. He did a whole video just on adaptive music. And you should go watch it, because he's clearly a lot more knowledgeable on music than I am.
For those of you who are complete and utter buffoons, allow me to explain. Adaptive music essentially refers to music in a video game that changes, or adapts, based on what's going on in the game. A huge example, one I've already talked about, is Banjo-Kazooie. This game is full of this shit. The music of the level changes on the fly as you walk around. And when you go underwater, the music changes so that it sounds like your speakers have been submerged. I absolutely love when games do this, and there are so many cool examples. A Hat in Time, Nier Automata, Shovel Knight, Mario Odyssey, Super Mario World, Splatoon, but I think my favorite example of adaptive music, at least from the last few years, is Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. Right from when you first encounter this big unkillable bastard, he follows you around the police station dead set on sucker punching you to death. And the cool thing is he doesn't despawn. If he doesn't know where you are, or if you're in a room he can't go in, he'll just keep walking around looking for you. But the absolute coolest thing about Mr. X is the music that plays as soon as he sees you and starts going toward you. And the volume of the music is dependent on his proximity to you. The closer he is, the louder the music. Even if you can't see him, if he sees you, you start hearing the music. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the way this works is that the music track is, in layman's terms, essentially attached to Mr. X. It's not triggered by his appearance. The music actually follows him around. It's super cool. As if Mr. X wasn't scary enough, he also has this horrible, dreadful noise that indicates when he's chasing you and how far away he is. God, this game is so cool, man.
And that's some of my thoughts on the very broad topic of video game music. Obviously, there are a lot of video games with amazing soundtracks that I didn't mention, but the only thing on this planet that can stop me from making YouTube videos is death itself, so maybe I'll return to this topic someday. But you know what? Making this video has kind of inspired me. Maybe I'll actually take the time to learn how to make music myself. No, this is a lot more fun, actually.